Hello, my name's Anthony Jacquin and I am the hypnotist. That's the first thing you need to understand. This is the video to accompany my book, Reality is Plastic, the Art of Impromptu Hypnosis. I'm going to explain in some detail all of the exercises collectively known as the set piece, and I'm going to go over each induction, including all the subtleties and some other simple tips that make these things work. I appreciate the footage is pretty raw. I thought it would be more useful for you to see these things as they've been used on the street, on my training courses and with my therapy clients, as opposed to setting things up in some kind of clinical environment. If you have any questions about any of the techniques included on this video or in the book, then please feel free to contact me directly on enquiries@anthonyjacquin.com. I will always endeavour to answer your questions as swiftly as possible. So let's get on with the techniques. The first thing I'd like to talk about are the exercises known as a set piece. I use the term set piece because I find that the traditional terms that have been used to cover these exercises, things like tests of responsiveness and examples of waking hypnosis, to be a little unsatisfactory. To me, the set piece is incredibly important, deceptively simple, but hugely valuable to you as a hypnotist. When I come to hypnotise somebody in an impromptu situation, I will typically begin with a set piece. I will never present these exercises as a test. I will never call them a test, for the simple reason that I'm of the opinion that by calling them a test, you can set up a kind of challenge with your subject and encourage so-called resistance, when really what you want to do is encourage cooperation. Although many of the exercises are simple, and some of them have a physiological reason that makes it very, very likely that your subject will succeed in putting them off, they are still useful, as I will demonstrate. Typically, the first set piece exercise I will use is simply known as magnetic fingers or steepled fingers. What you're going to do is give your subject some very simple instructions, and within a few seconds of giving these instructions, they are going to find that their body responds to the ideas you're giving it. It proceeds at this kind of pace. Can you put your hands out in front of you? Can you clasp them together nice and tight, palms together, thumbs crossed? Bend your elbows like you're making a desperate prayer. Keeping your palms together, put your first fingers up about 1 inch apart. That's right, about 1 inch apart. Now look at the gap between those fingers, because in a moment those fingers are going to come together and touch all by themselves. They've got magnets in the tips of your fingers. They're getting closer and closer already. That's right, they're starting to twitch. And as those fingers come together, as soon as they touch, you can just allow your eyes to close and relax. Okay, we're going to start with a couple of simple exercises. They involve you using your concentration, your imagination. Okay, I'll give you some simple instructions. I want you to follow these instructions. I don't want you to pretend anything. If you follow these instructions, you'll have a bit of an experience, and it'll give you an insight into what hypnosis is. Okay? I want you to begin by placing both hands out in front of you like this, if you would. Sure. Clasp them tight together so your palms are together and your thumbs are crossed. Yeah. Nice and tight. Bend your elbows, and keeping your palms together, put your first fingers up about 1 inch apart. Now look at the gap between those fingers. In a moment they're going to come together and touch, just like you've got two magnets in the tips of those fingers. As soon as they touch, that's right, all by themselves, just allow your eyes to close. With your eyes closed, you can just relax and let your arms drift down now. That's right, your own rate and speed. And you're going to drift down into a nice focused state, ready for the next set of instructions I'm going to give you. All the way down, that's right. Excellent. Now you can pull your hands apart, you can open your eyes. Brilliant. The moment their fingers touch and their eyes close, you have a choice about how to proceed. If at this point you don't plan to turn this into a hypnotic induction, then you could simply say, take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, just relax and let your arms drift down. Now open your eyes. Excellent. That shows me you can concentrate. So here already you get an opportunity to encourage your subject. You let them know clearly they're doing well. But this is almost a throwaway item. You don't have to linger, you don't have to talk about it in detail. You simply move on to the next exercise. Many hypnotists don't use magnetic fingers because there is a physiological reason why the fingers come together. But it's simply when you squeeze your hands together, it's very likely that these fingers are going to come together. You'll notice in the way I set it up, I never ask the person to squeeze their hands together once the exercise has actually begun. I place tension into the hands in the setup process, and I then do my utmost to genuinely make those fingers come together using my direction, using my suggestion. I've used this exercise with literally thousands and thousands of people, and you'll be amazed. Sometimes you get very big reactions from it, but even if you don't, it's such a throwaway item, you can simply move on to the next exercise, congratulating them for demonstrating their ability to concentrate. The next set piece exercise I'd like to talk about is magnetic palms or magnetic hands. Logically, this follows on from magnetic fingers. There's still some physiology at play, in that if you have your hands out here for a certain amount of time, and eventually your arms begin to tire, it's likely they're going to drop down and inwards. But understand, you're going to make this happen with your direction. The mindset, as the hypnotist, that you need to take in doing this exercise is that the moment you ask that person to put their hands out, it's as if you picked up a ball. And you're not going to put that ball down until their hands come together and touch. The difference between this and magnetic fingers is that this time you're going to show your subject exactly what it is that you want them to do beforehand. This adds another layer of suggestion and makes it absolutely clear to them what you're expecting them to do. So I will typically say this. Excellent, that shows me you can concentrate. Now this time I'm going to ask you to concentrate in exactly the same way you did before, but to use your imagination a little more. So this time I am going to ask you to close your eyes. Not yet. In a moment I'm going to ask you to put your hands out in front of you about 6 inches apart. I will then say close your eyes and imagine you have two powerful magnets, one strapped to the palm of each hand, pulling your hands together. I don't want you to push your hands together. I want you to genuinely concentrate and imagine those magnets are pulling your hands together all by themselves. They'll get closer and closer. It's very difficult for you to tell exactly where they are, but eventually you'll find that those hands simply come together and touch. When they do, I'd like you to let them just drop down into your lap and you can simply relax. Is that okay? Excellent. Then put your hands out in front of each other. Look at the gap between them. Get a clear picture of your hands stuck out there. Now close your eyes and imagine you have two powerful magnets strapped to the palms of those hands now, pulling them together. They're getting closer and closer together, that's right. The closer they get, the stronger that real or imagined force can become. Just like when you're a child playing with magnets, the closer they get, the stronger that force becomes, that's right. You've literally got centimetres to go now, closer and closer and closer, that's right. As you feel those fingers touch, just let your arms drift down and relax. Now that's typically how long this exercise takes. You could get through magnetic fingers and magnetic hands probably within 1 minute to 1.5 minutes. If someone's really not responding to the exercises after say 20 seconds, then they're probably not going to. So simply move on and do something else. But I can assure you that 99% of people you work with will be able to succeed in these exercises. giving you an opportunity to flatter them, to tell them, excellent, that shows me you're concentrating, that shows me you're using your imagination, and so much. Now, that shows me you can concentrate. What I'm going to do now is ask you to concentrate in the same way, but to use your imagination a little more. This time I'll ask you to close your eyes in advance, but I'll show you what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to put your hands out in front of you about 6 inches apart, to close your eyes and imagine that you've got a powerful magnet strapped to the palm of each hand. Now, I don't want you to push them together, I want you to genuinely concentrate on the idea you've got magnets pulling your hands together. They'll move all by themselves, a bit of a strange feeling because you can't tell where they are, but eventually you'll feel your hands touch, and when they touch, you can just allow your hands to drift down and relax, and once again you'll drift into a nice relaxed state. Okay? So when you're ready, arms out in front of you, shoulder height, about 6 inches apart. That's right, look at the gap between those hands, get a clear picture of your hands stuck out there. Now close your eyes, and with your eyes closed imagine you've got 2 powerful magnets pulling those hands together. They're already starting to go, they're getting closer and closer and closer together, and as soon as they touch, that's right, closer and closer, just relax and go deeply into that state once again, focused as you drift down deeper and deeper into a comfortable, relaxed state. Now in a moment, I'll say 1, 2, wide awake. I want you to open your eyes, and then I'm going to put you into a state of hypnosis. 1, 2, wide awake. Excellent. Okay. For many people, the moment they close their eyes in front of you, the hypnotist, they will immediately begin to exhibit some of the hypnotic signs of behaviour. They may exhibit lots of REM movement in their eyes. They may flush, their breathing may shift as they now expect to be hypnotised. Observe, use these signs of hypnosis, and if you wish to, then you can turn these exercises into the hypnotic induction itself very, very easily, and we'll come to that when we get to the induction section of the video. The next exercise I'd like to talk about is the stiff arm. Again, this is an age-old and very traditional exercise in waking hypnosis. In my experience, this takes a little more psychological pressure from you, the hypnotist, to ensure that it works. But again, it's not particularly complicated. You'll find if you do this with conviction, then your subject will be unable to bend their arm, which is a most peculiar feeling for them, and sets them up perfectly for hypnosis. What I'd like you to do, I'm going to count to 3. On the count of 3, I'd like you to make a tight fist with your right hand, and you're going to put that arm out in front of you. And you're going to raise it up to the sky. You're going to make a tight fist on the count of 3. 1, you're going to begin making that fist with your right hand. 2 and 3. Make a tight fist and straighten your arm out, if you would, and begin to raise it up to the sky. Begin lifting that arm upwards to the sky. Now as you lift it, I want you to feel that tightness in the back of the fist, in the wrist, in the elbow, right up into the shoulder. A tightness as that arm becomes stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. It's getting stiffer and stiffer. The elbow joint locking, the shoulder locking, the wrist getting tighter and tighter. That arm is made of solid steel. It's absolutely unbendable. You cannot bend it. It's absolutely stuck fast. Now what I'd like you to do is try and bend that arm. Put some real effort into it. You're a strong woman. The harder you try and bend it, the stiffer it gets. The harder you try to bend that arm, the stiffer it gets. That's right, try even harder, put some real effort in. Begin to understand how powerful your unconscious mind is. That's right, absolutely unbendable. In a moment, I'm going to touch that hand and it will drop down. And as it drops down, you're going to drop down 10 times, deeper to sleep, deeper to sleep, deeper to sleep. That's right, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. Whenever I work with a body part, such as someone's arm or their hands or even their fingers, I will typically say something like, "Can I borrow your arm?" or "Give me your arm." This seems to suggest to the person that in some way that arm no longer belongs to them, which is exactly what I want. Because in my mind, that arm or those hands now belong to me. They will do what I tell them to do. And that really is an important mindset for you to get into as the hypnotist. So, can I borrow your arm? I will then take hold of their arm and extend it right out. You want the elbow locked out, the wrist locked out. If they haven't already, I will ask them to make a tight fist. And I will then slap the end of their fist to ensure that it is a tight fist. As I say, make a tight fist. I will slap the back of their hand. I will poke them in the wrist. I will poke them in the forearm. I will tell them to lock their elbow out, to make their biceps stiffer, up into their shoulder. Every muscle, nerve and fibre in that arm stiffer and stiffer. So at this point what you're doing is simply directing the person to make their arm as stiff as possible. You'll see in the book that the language swiftly turns from them making it stiff, to it being stiff, to it becoming unbendable, to it being unbendable. All of this occurs in just a few sentences before you actually challenge them to try and bend their arm. And at that point, you will normally get this kind of futile resistance as they try and bend their arm. And obviously, the more effort they put into that, the more tense those muscles become. It's then very easy for you to simply say, in a moment I will touch that arm and the influence will be all gone. Your arm will just drop down as you relax even more. Just relax. All of the exercises we've just looked at, magnetic fingers, magnetic hands and the stiff arm, can all be turned into an induction or simply used as an induction. All you have to do is the moment they succeed at bringing their fingers together or their hands coming together or their arm locking out, is to simply link this to going into hypnosis. So, if you were to do magnetic fingers with someone and their attention really did fixate on those fingers, and as they found those fingers touching and their eyes closed, they exhibited a large amount of REM and gave you some other hypnotic signs, then you could boldly and confidently simply push those hands down. I would normally push their head forward as well and encourage them to sleep. You can do exactly the same thing with those hands, only this time you have a little more time to build up the expectation. That's right, in a moment when those hands touch, you're going to go into a deep state of hypnosis. They're getting closer and closer. Get ready now. The moment those hands touch, that's right, and then push those hands down and pronounce sleep, commandingly and clearly, and they will follow that direction. With a stiff arm, it's very similar. The arm is stiff. They're in the state of mind you need them to be in because they don't believe they can bend their arm. So give them a further direction. In a moment, I'm going to touch that arm and it will just drop down by your side like a wet dishcloth, and as it drops down, your head will drop forward as you drop into a deep state of sleep. Very, very simple, very, very quick, hugely effective. Do not be put off by the simplicity of these techniques. A deep state of hypnosis you are going to enjoy. Keep concentrating. That's right, don't need to push them together, don't need to pull them apart. Keep concentrating on the idea. Squeeze your hands together tighter, tighter, tighter and tighter and tighter. I need you to squeeze your hands. Look at them, and as soon as they touch, that's right, you're going to go into a deep state of hypnosis. Close your eyes, sleep. Now, deep, deep, deep asleep. Feel your eyes flickering as you go deeply relaxed. As I rock your shoulder, your entire body's going to relax. Your legs will support you, but you'll continue to relax deeper and deeper and deeper to sleep. Now, your head gets heavier and heavier as your neck relaxes, your shoulders relax. That heavy head's like a bowling ball now, pulling itself down as you drift deeper and deeper to sleep. Deep, 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 deep to sleep. I'll touch your hands and they'll separate, and you'll go even deeply relaxed. As those hands separate now, you can relax even more. In a moment, I'm going to take hold of this arm, I'll lift it, and it's going to relax completely. It'll be like a wet dishcloth. When I let go of it, it's going to drop down like a wet dishcloth. It's just going to plop down like a wet dishcloth, and I let go of it. That's right. Looser, looser, deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Relax every muscle in that arm now. Give me that arm. Give it to me. That's right. Relax every muscle in that arm. Loose, limp, like a wet dishcloth. That's right. Sleep. Deeper and deeper and deeper to sleep. Deeper and deeper. I'm going to do the same thing with your other arm. Again, I don't want you to help me lift it. I'll lift it. As I lift it up, every muscle, nerve, fibre in that arm is completely relaxed. It's heavy. It's going to drop down like a wet dishcloth. As your eyes flicker, you're going deeply into hypnosis. I know you can hear me and you can be aware of what's going on, but all that matters now is the sound of my voice and your thoughts, Charlie. Sleep. Okay, let's get into the inductions now. You'll notice that many of the inductions involve me physically manipulating somebody's arm, normally with them ending up in this position. their arm in the air and their eyes closed. This creates a situation of leverage. By leverage, I mean you've directed somebody into a rather unusual situation. Their arms in the air and their eyes are closed, and essentially they're waiting for your next direction. Leverage is a thing of outstanding beauty. You create artificially moments that you can then use and link to the next thing you want to happen. Either going into hypnosis, going deeper into hypnosis, becoming more relaxed, or whatever it is that you happen to do. All of the inductions outlined are what I would call rapid hypnosis inductions, meaning they take from a few seconds to a minute or so to actually perform. Of course, you need to proceed with purpose. You need to know exactly what you're doing with your technique. And I've outlined a number of simple tips and more detailed subtleties that will make these inductions even more effective. However, the techniques outlined really are just a vehicle for your confidence and your persona, your intent to do the hypnotizing. Is that clear? The techniques are just a vehicle for you to deliver your intent to hypnotize somebody. That's a very important thing to understand, and as you grow in experience as a hypnotist, you'll soon realize that you really can hypnotize using any method at all. It's much, much better for you to become an expert in one or two of these techniques. There is simply no need to know 50 different inductions. I'd like to talk about the rehearsal induction now. Hypnotists have been using rehearsal to induce hypnosis for decades, probably hundreds of years. The induction I'm going to use is my own take on an induction I learned from a wonderful book called Training Trances, which I thoroughly recommend. You'll find it in the reading list of Realidad Plástica. The induction proceeds by explaining and demonstrating the process, the actual steps you will take to induce hypnosis in your subject. You explain this process and demonstrate it a number of times, adding a few small details each time, and before you get to the time where you're actually going to induce hypnosis, they go into a trance anyway. In other words, you rehearse what is going to happen and what you want them to do over and over and over until they go into a trance anyway, before you get to the actual performance. This was one of the first rapid inductions of hypnosis I used, and I've used it many, many times since in a real variety of situations. It has never failed me, ever. So master it. It's a very, very good technique and well worth your time. First of all, I will explain to my subject exactly how it is that they're going to go into a trance. At this point, the language I'm using suggests that this is all very fair and that I just want them to understand. It really does encourage cooperation and grabs their attention. Sometimes I'll demonstrate the first rehearsal on myself, sometimes I will just use their arm. You have a choice. So it proceeds like this. Okay, what I'm going to do here is this. To hypnotise you, I'm going to borrow that arm, if it's okay with you. I'll take hold of the wrist and I'll just begin lifting it. And when it gets up to a certain point, that would be the point that you just go into a trance, into that state we call hypnosis. And to bring you back out, I'd push that hand down, your eyes would open, you'd be back at full and wakeful alertness. Is that okay? So just to go over it, what I'm going to do is I'll take hold of your wrist like this, and when it gets to a certain point, you go into hypnosis, and then to bring you back out, I'm just going to push it back down. When it touches down, that's your signal to be back at full and wakeful alertness. So just to go over the steps, I take hold of the wrist, it lifts up slowly, and you probably start to notice certain sensations in that arm, and perhaps at that point your eyes would close and you go into a trance. And then to bring you back out of it, I'll put it down, your eyes would open, and you'd be back at full alertness. So again, I don't want you to go into a trance yet. This time, as the arm lifts up, and you notice those sensations, it gets to that point, and your eyes close, that's right. And then I'll push it down and your eyes will open. So one more time, let's go over it. As that wrist begins to lift now, that's right, it gets up to that point, your eyes close now, sleep. Sleep. Go deeper sleep. Deeper and deeper and deeper into that state. Obviously I would then deepen the state and encourage that person to begin following my suggestions. Notice the language. Each time we rehearse, I'm adding small details that are ambiguous enough that encourage the subject to kind of go inside and access bits of information such as sensations and feelings that normally would be outside of their conscious awareness. By the third or fourth time you go through this rehearsal and you reach over for that wrist, you'll find with just the slightest bit of encouragement from your thumb underneath, it begins to lift. Sometimes you don't even need to touch it. And ensure that when that happens, you use the wording, and as that wrist lifts. Because then it really does begin to drift up by itself. They are going to begin to notice certain sensations. And you'll notice their eyes close on the third or fourth time. And as soon as they close, you just leave them there in this position of leverage once again. Command them into hypnosis. In a moment what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up your arm again, okay? And when it gets up to about here, that'll be the point where you went into hypnosis. And then I'll push it down, and your eyes are open, you'd come back out of it, okay? So I'm going to kind of teach you the steps because I want you to learn this as well. So I'll just go through the steps. So I lift up your hand, it would get to a certain point, and that'd be the point you'd go into hypnosis. And then I'll push it down to have you come back to full and wakeful alertness again. Okay? So again, I just want to go over it, just so that you learn the steps. I reach over, the arm lifts up, and you start to feel certain things, maybe your eyes are closed, something like that. And then to bring you back to full and wakeful alertness, I'll push it back down. Okay? So again, just to get this learning, I reach over, that's right, the wrist starts to lift up, it gets to a certain point, you'll know when that point is. You'll notice certain sensations in that arm. Your eyes closed now, that's right. And go deep asleep. Go deeply into that trance now. Every breath you take and every word I say, you go deeper and deeper into that sleep. Understanding exactly what a hypnotist means when he says sleep. And deeper sleep. It's not the sleep you have at night. It's just a deep relaxation in your nervous system. Eyes flickering now, muscles twitching as you go deeper and deeper and deeper. Let's talk about the handshake induction. There are numerous ways of inducing hypnosis using a handshake. The method I'm going to outline here has become reasonably well known because some rather high profile hypnotists and a television magician have used a similar approach, and often it's referred to as a pattern interrupt. The theory behind that is that a handshake is a single unit pattern, if you like, of behaviour. when you put out your hand to shake somebody's hand, automatically their hand begins to lift up. They expect the shake to be completed. So if you do that, and as they come up to shake, or as they just about touch, you reach over with your other hand, take hold of their wrist and put it in front of their face like this, and ask them to look at it. For a moment or two, they will have no clue as to how to proceed, unless they're trained in jiu-jitsu, in which case you're probably dead already. But for everybody else who's not used to having their wrist locked in this way, it's quite straightforward, and proceeds in just a few steps. I'll very often use this immediately after somebody has completed the set piece. So let's say they've done magnetic hands and their hands have dropped down, their eyes are closed. I'll give them the instruction to open their eyes and look at me, and then we'll just reach out and say thanks for doing that, and take hold of their wrist, ask them to look at that hand, and begin with the process. You can also use a handshake induction, stone cold, unannounced on somebody, as a shock induction. It does work. So let's look at the process. You reach out and their hand begins to come towards yours. You take hold of it with the other hand and you put their hand about 18 inches away from their face. Again, with this grip, index finger on the back, and you begin gently moving that hand toward their face. Very slowly, as you say, look at the lines on your hand. Look at one spot on that hand. And as that hand begins moving towards your face, you might notice the changing focus of your eyes. As it gets closer and you become aware of those eyes, close your eyes now and sleep. Deeper sleep. Thanks for doing that. Look at your hand. Look at the lines on your hand. As it moves close to your face now, and you look at those lines, notice the changing focus of your eyes. Your eyes change focus. Close your eyes and sleep. Go deeply, deeply down into that state once again. Deeper and deeper and deeper. You're going to know you're in it because your left hand is going to start to lift up off your leg, just like it's being pulled up by a magnetic force. It will get lighter and lighter and lighter. I don't know if it will be the thumb or finger that moves first. You'll probably know before I do. Now you could pretend that, but that's not what we want. Not what we want. Your unconscious mind runs every cell, every muscle, every nerve and fibre in your body, and it's your unconscious that's pulling that hand up. There's a fundamental learning in that arm lifting by itself. That you've tapped into a power. It's called your unconscious. And it's working for you. It wants you to be well. It wants you to be happy. So a few details on those points. You do have to proceed quite quickly after lifting this hand up. Essentially you have between half a second and a second and a half to fixate their attention, first of all, to a spot or a line on their hand. You don't want them looking around and looking at you and looking everywhere else. You want their attention fixated on that hand. You could say, look at one of the intricate lines on that hand, or look at a spot on that hand. As you begin moving that arm, again, you kind of use this kind of ambiguous amount of pressure. So sometimes it seems like you're pushing it, sometimes you're not, and eventually that hand will just start to move by itself, although you'll still have some pressure on here with your index finger. And you're linking what you know is going to happen to what you want to happen. So as the hand moves and they're looking at it, well, you know that their eyes are going to change focus. So you use that bit of knowledge. You pace what their experience is going to be. And as they notice their eyes, you've drawn attention to them so they don't have a choice, you encourage those eyes to close with a wave of the hand or a click of the fingers or both. Simultaneously, as you say, close the eyes or eyes close. the moment they do. Command them to sleep. At that point their hand may be a few inches away from their face. So to deepen their state of hypnosis, you can leverage off the fact that their hand's a few inches away from their face and tell them it will continue to move toward their face, and when it touches their face their head will drop forward and they'll drop into a deep state of hypnosis. Their hand may be on their face. You can still encourage that arm to drift down or to lift up. If they're feeling a bit more punchy, then you can use your other hand and push their head forward at the same time, so they're now in this position.
Focus, concentration, visualization. Put your hands out in front of you. Okay, I want you to look at the gap between your hands, Merrick. Focus on it, get a clear picture of your hands stuck out there. Now close your eyes. Imagine you've got two powerful magnets strapped to the palms of your hands, pulling them together. They're already moving, they're getting closer and closer and closer. You need to turn that real imagined force up. That's right, the closer they get, the stronger it's going to become. That's right, feel that force pulling your hands together. They're moving, inches to go now, closer and closer and closer. You're doing brilliantly. In a moment, your hands are going to touch. When they do, you're going to drop into a deep state of sleep. A deep, deep state. Put all your thoughts asleep. You'll continue to be able to hear me, and you'll feel absolutely fantastic. You're relaxed. In a moment, they will touch me. When they do, I'll push your hands down, your head will drop forward, and you will drift into that deep state. Now, sleep. Deep, 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 deeply relaxed, deeply relaxed. Every muscle, every nerve, every fibre in your body, relaxed completely. That's right. Your legs will just about support you as you continue to relax. In a minute, when I say 1, 2, wide awake, your eyes are open, your ears are moving in every way, exquisitely the suggestions I've given you. When I touch you on the shoulder and say sleep, immediately return to this state, even deeper into time. Eyes open, one way. Okay, you're going brilliantly, Merrick. Have a look at your hand. Have a look at it. Have a look at the eyes. As it gets close to your face, it gets closer and closer and closer. You'll notice your eyes begin to change focus. As your eyes change focus, notice those eyes. Close your eyes now. Sleep. Deeper sleep now. Deep asleep. Sleep.
Go out and practice it. You do not need to read 20 pages of theory about a handshake induction. You need to go out and use it. You need to get over the fact that it might not always come off stone cold. Get over the fear of what if they just look at me? What if they don't close their eyes? Lose your fears and use this induction. Again, like any of these inductions, a good way to practice it is to use it on someone you know is a really good subject, somebody you've already hypnotized, or somebody you've just woken up from hypnosis. You then know that you could essentially sneeze and link that to hypnosis, and they would. So you might as well use these rapid inductions and test out, get the words out, get the timing out, and become an expert in it. That's the handshake induction. Now, what we're going to do is this. In a moment, I'm going to take hold of your wrist, if that's okay with you. Alright? And I'm going to ask you to focus your attention on one spot. So rather than looking at me or anywhere else, I want you to just, I'm going to do it now, look at one spot on the palm of your hand. Okay? Now, as that hand begins moving close to your face, I want you to keep your eyes on that spot. It gets closer and closer. That's right, closer and closer. And as it gets closer, you'll begin to notice the changing focus of your eyes. As soon as you become aware of those eyes, close your eyes now and sleep. Go deeper sleep. Deep, deep, deeper sleep. Eyes flickering, that's right. Deeper and deeper. Relaxed as that hand continues to be pulled close to your face. The moment it touches your face, you're going to drop into a profound state of hypnosis. Deeper and deeper into that sleep. That's right. Deeper, 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 deeper. That's right. I'm going to count down from 3 to 1, and as I do, that arm is going to drift down, just like it's drifting down on an invisible wire. 3, that's right, with every number, deeper and deeper. 2, as it drifts down, the muscles relax, you can drift down with it and relax. 1, all the way down into a profound state of hypnosis, understanding exactly what I mean when I say the word sleep. It's not the sleep you have at night, it's a deep relaxation of your nervous system, a focused state of attention. That's right. Now I'd like to talk about the Jacquin power lift. It sounds like a wrestling move. This induction was principally developed by my father, Anthony Jacquin, who I run the UK Hypnotherapy Training College with. It contains elements of the rehearsal of a pattern interrupt, such as the handshake induction, and also a pure personal power induction. It combines these three things into a wonderful hypnotic induction that we both use every single day in our hypnotherapy practices. First of all, what you're going to do is you're going to, once again, just get permission to hypnotise your subject. This starts to build some expectation and fire up their imagination. And again, you're going to explain to them exactly what you're going to do, and you're going to rehearse a couple of times on your own arm to demonstrate, and you're then going to rehearse a couple of times on your subject's arm. The third time you go to rehearse on their arm, you're going to change the pattern that you've created with this rehearsal process, and you're going to encourage that arm to become completely cataleptic. So once again, they're left in this position. From that point of leverage, you then just deepen the state of hypnosis. There are a few subtle points to note. One is the language used in the rehearsal part of this induction. Essentially, you're going to move from a permissive kind of language where they can do something to a more authoritarian use of language where they will do something. Let me demonstrate. Okay, to have you go into hypnosis, I'm going to borrow that arm. Is that okay with you? All I'm going to do is take hold of the wrist and I'll lift it. When it gets up to a certain point, you can just allow your eyes to close. I'll push it down and your eyes will open. I lift it up, your eyes will close, and I'll push it down, your eyes will open, and you can continue to relax. Is that okay with you? If you just place your feet flat on the floor, your arms and hands lightly on the arms of the chair, I take hold of that wrist. It gets to that point, you can allow your eyes to close. That's right. I push it down and your eyes will open. I lift it up and your eyes will close. I push it down and your eyes will open. This time, as that wrist lifts up and your eyes close, feel the wrist getting stiffer now. Feel that forearm muscle getting tighter, your elbow joint locking, your bicep up into the shoulder, every muscle, nerve and fibre in that arm getting stiffer and stiffer now as it just hangs on that wire. Every breath you take now, every word I say will send you deeper and deeper into hypnosis. Every breath you take now, every word I say, you'll go deeper and deeper into that state. Just letting go. Now, hopefully you notice the change in the use of language there and the movement from rehearsing with their arm to interrupting that pattern. Ensure that you take hold of their wrist in this fashion when you pick it up. The thumb and the middle finger on the underside of their wrist. Your index finger on top. And what this means is as you rehearse with their arm, you really can use this kind of ambiguous touch. In other words, you lift it up, but the second and third time you pick that arm up, the chances are at the top, they'll begin to take their own arm's weight. And you can let go with your thumb and middle finger, just leaving your index finger on the back of their wrist, which gives the impression in some way that you're still kind of holding on to their wrist. And then when you push it down, Another subtlety is to actually make some tension in your own arm, in your bicep and forearm and grip, to tighten up a little bit and to push down, which really gives the impression to them that their arm has kind of become a little stiff itself, a kind of wooden, waxy flexibility in that arm, which creates some unusual sensations for them. And when you get down, as you relieve that tension and encourage them to relax, they tend to relax. Sometimes their posture will shift. You reach over again, and again, with even less encouragement, you'll find that wrist goes up, and then down again. And then again, the third time you reach over, this time really want that arm to lift up and encourage it just with the thumb at first underneath their wrist to go in that direction. And again, the wording changes slightly. And as that wrist lifts, giving the impression it's lifting by itself, and the eyes close, you're linking that wrist lifting to their eyes closing. Feel your wrists getting stiffer and stiffer, which is a very direct suggestion for their mind to lock around. Feel the wrist getting stiffer. Squeeze their wrist slightly as you do that. Feel the forearm getting tighter. Poke in the outer edge of their forearm, which is already quite hard. Feel the forearm getting tighter. The elbow joint locking. The bicep stiffer. Up into the shoulder. Poking the arm in this way encourages the muscles to tense up. Now, some people will really respond to that and make a fist even, or their arm really will start to get stiff and shake. And if that occurs, then obviously you can say things like, feel that arm shaking now. Feel it as it gets tighter and tighter, shaking more and more. And you can springboard off of that using this new bit of leverage, of movement, to encourage other hypnotic phenomena. Other people's will just kind of hang there, sometimes their fingers in a bit of a strange position. And you could just leave them there. You could just leave that arm there and then proceed to deepen the state they're in and encourage other hypnotic phenomena. But remember, you have leverage in this arm. So your directions could be that that arm will begin to lift up toward the ceiling, that it will move toward their face, that their head's now a magnet and their hand's like a powerful magnet. Just like those hands are magnets, it's going to get closer and closer. When it touches, they're going to go 10 times deeper into their trance. If you really didn't want to leave them there, or their arm began to drift down, then ensure that you understand and behave as if that arm still belongs to you, the hypnotist. And say something like, and as that arm drifts down and the muscles relax, you can drift down and relax and go deeper sleep now. Deeper sleep, that's right, all the way down. I'm going to show you how to go into hypnosis. Okay, I'll show you what we're going to do and then we'll do it. Okay. In a moment I'm going to borrow that arm. It's okay with you. And I'm going to take hold of the wrist. I'll lift it up. You don't have to help me. I'll lift it. When it gets to about here, you can just allow your eyes to close. I'll then push your hand down, and as it touches down, your eyes will open. I'll lift it up, and your eyes will close. I'll push it down, and your eyes will open, and you continue to relax. Is that okay with you?
It's fine, yeah.
Okay, fine. What I'd like you to do is just pick a spot, could be a spot on the floor or something, but just look at one particular spot.
Okay.
Keep your eyes fixed on that spot. Again, I'll lift this up, and when it gets to a certain point, you can just allow your eyes to close. That's right. I push it down, and your eyes open as you relax even more. I lift it up, and your eyes will close, that's right. And I push that hand down, your eyes open. As the wrist lifts up and your eyes close, feel the wrist getting stiffer and stiffer now. The forearm muscle getting tighter, that's right. The elbow up into the bicep, that arm completely rigid as it hangs on that wire. Stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. Completely rigid, that elbow locking, your bicep tighter, your shoulder completely rigid. Every breath you take now, every word I say, you'll continue to relax and drift deeper into that sleep, deeper into hypnosis, going inside into that place in the mind. The part of your mind that's the storehouse for all those memories and abilities and resources and strengths. Your unconscious, the part of you that runs every cell, every muscle, every nerve and every single fibre. As that arm becomes completely rigid now, it's going to start to lift up and be pulled upwards toward the ceiling, like it's being pulled up by an invisible force. That's right, you'll feel it start to go. I know it's a peculiar feeling, but you'll feel it start to lift. Higher and higher, pulled up on that invisible wire. Completely rigid as it just lifts up. The harder you try and keep it still, the more it's going to move. Now, that's a peculiar feeling, it's one you'll find enjoyable. The harder you try and keep that hand down, the higher it lifts. That's right, feel that force pulling it up. Because your unconscious is in charge of all those muscles. Pulling it up higher and higher. Up toward the ceiling, one step at a time. Harder you try and keep it down. You can try and keep it down. Your unconscious is infinitely stronger than the conscious. Consciously, I know you'd love to put that arm down, but your unconscious is infinitely stronger. It will pull it up. That's right, you're doing brilliantly. And right now you believe that you can't put that arm down. In a moment I'll touch that arm, and then you'll believe absolutely that of course you can put your arm down. And as you put it down, you'll drift into an even more profound state of hypnosis, all the way down now into a profound state of hypnosis. Deeper, 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 deeper. That's right. Deeper and deeper. Every single thing I say now will become your reality, instantly, immediately, without doubt or question, because you have a super powerful unconscious and a natural ability to tap into that mind. Again, this induction has been used in our therapy rooms and in performance as well, thousands and thousands of times, perhaps 20,000 times. We know it works. Yes, it has a few more subtleties and a few complexities, but if you master this induction, you'll find that you can use this anywhere, anytime, whatever the situation, whatever the environment you're in. It is really, really effective, and I'd love to think that you have a lot of success with it. Now I'd like to talk about the Jacquin power induction. I appreciate that on paper this reads incredibly simply. It's very direct, it's extremely quick, and it results in an immediately verifiable experience of hypnosis, or certainly something out of the ordinary taking place. You can do this to your subject with their eyes open, or you can ask them to close their eyes and do this. Either way, what's going to occur if you do this correctly is that the moment they go into a trance, they're going to begin to experience certain sensations in their hands and fingers and movement in those hands and fingers, which will then begin to lift up or drift up. Hopefully they'll get to here or even here. Sometimes they'll just be twitching away just above their legs. Again, it's important that you fixate their attention, so get them to look just underneath one of your eyes as you look at the bridge of their nose or directly into one of their eyes. You tell them what is going to happen, what you're going to ask them to do. Okay, can you just place your feet on the floor? Can you put your hands lightly on your lap? In a moment, I'd like you to repeat the word relax 4 times in your mind. The 4th time you repeat that word, you can just allow your eyes to close and you'll go into a deep state of hypnosis. You'll know you're in it because those hands will begin to lift up off your leg. Repeat that word relax now, just in your mind 4 times. That's right, eyes closed now. And go deeper and deeper to sleep now into a deep, deep and profound state of hypnosis. And every breath you take and every word I say to take you deeper and deeper as those hands begin to lift up now, that's right. Fingers twitching, you'll feel certain sensations as those hands become lighter and lighter now. They're beginning to lift and drift up all by themselves. Some of this language is probably starting to sound quite familiar now. Again, make it happen, just like you make the set piece exercise, magnetic hands, happen, make those hands lift up off their legs. Once they start to go, you've got this wonderful hypnotic phenomena, and you can use that to springboard to other phenomena, to deepen the state they're already in. Numerous things. That's the Jacquin power induction. So what I'd like you to do is place your hands on your lap, if you would, and if you just look at a spot on the back of one hand and keep your eyes fixed on one spot. In a moment, Marion, what I'd like you to do is repeat the word relax 4 times in your mind. The 4th time, you can just allow your eyes to close, and you'll immediately drift down into that trance now. With the eyes closed, deeper and deeper. As you feel your neck relaxing, your shoulders relaxing, you can drift down deeper and deeper into that sleep. Even more comfortably, even more effortlessly than before. Your own rate and speed. That's right. And I want you to pay attention to some of the tiny changes that occur as you drift into a trance. Tiny movements in your eyes, the relaxation in your face and your neck, muscles switching. You may even notice your breathing. As your breathing shifts as you drift deeper and deeper. And I'm going to show you how you can use this ability to go into a trance by repeating the word relax 4 times. In a moment, your left hand will begin lifting up off your leg like it's being pushed up by an invisible force. I know it's a peculiar idea, but it's a feeling you'll find enjoyable. It will just start to lift up, and you can pretend that, but that's not what we want. Your unconscious mind will lift it up for you. One step at a time. That's right, muscles twitching deeper and deeper. It's beginning to get lighter and lighter. Even as you pay attention to your fingers, just barely touching, that's right, it's beginning to go. And it will lift up. As it does, you'll enjoy a growing sense of well-being. And you become more and more comfortable with this idea that you can take yourself into a trance, a deep state of hypnosis, anytime it's safe and appropriate for you to do so. The other reason we use this word relax 4 times is because the post-hypnotic suggestion my father Freddie Jacquin and I tend to give, simply because we see so many hypnotherapy clients, is always the same. And it involves them focusing their attention and repeating the word relax 4 times in their mind. Just makes it easier to remember as the hypnotist. So we also use it in this induction as well. Now let's briefly talk about instant inductions. An instant induction is perhaps what the layman expects from a hypnotist, because all they've ever seen on TV is somebody saying sleep and people going to sleep. So give them what they expect. It's very, very straightforward, as you'll see from the videos. It's a wonderful way of re-inducing hypnosis. That's the best way of practicing it at first. When you wake somebody up, you immediately use an instant induction to put them back in. Fixate their attention on your finger, on the tip of a pen, or a point underneath your eye. Whenever you fixate somebody's attention in this way, ensure that their gaze is unwavering. If they're looking around and looking at their friends and looking at you, make it very clear to them. No, look at the tip of my finger. Don't look anywhere else. You don't need to look anywhere else. You don't need to say anything. Keep your eyes fixed on it. Are you ready? As that gets close to your face, notice the changing focus, your eyes. Sleep now. Notice how similar it is to the handshake induction, just after you've done the handshake and have got them in this position. Very, very similar indeed. But this movement toward their face, things moving toward their eyes, encourage their eyes to change focus, giving something you can pace and springboard off of. Boom! Command them to sleep, they will sleep. This time. Okay, look at my finger. You remain sitting up this time. Sleep. Close your eyes and sleep. Notice your eyes flickering now. Eyes flickering. Your eyes becoming stuck together. Absolutely stuck fast. Your eyes are becoming stuck, glued together. I want you to lock your mind around that idea. Your eyes are glued together. It feels funny to you, but they're stuck. The harder you try and open them, the tighter they stick. The harder you try and open your eyes, the tighter they stick. That's right. The harder you try, you can try as hard as you like, they stick even more. That's right. In a moment, I'll touch on the shoulder, your eyes will open. But you'll no longer be able to say your name. You won't be able to be like you can't remember your name. You just won't be able to say it. It seems hilarious to you. You can't remember your own name. It's just gone. Like something's on the tip of your tongue. Gone completely.
What's your name? She wants it done to her. Are you being serious? Okay. Oh no. We've got a girl that don't know her name. Is that serious?
Can you say it? Can you try and say it? Check me. Sleep. Deep asleep. Deep asleep. Okay, we're just about at the end of this recording now. I want to thank you for taking your time to watch this. I hope you found it helpful. And again, understand these are the techniques that I use in the real world. They work for me, and I genuinely and sincerely want them to work for you. So please, give them your time, practice, go over these words, make them your own. Find people to practice on. Take opportunities to hypnotize people, and you will surprise yourself. If you have any questions about any aspects of these techniques, be it the setup, the set piece, the inductions, the deepening process, how to give suggestions, how to string routines together, then feel free to contact me directly. Inquiries@anthonyjacquin.com. Thank you once again. Be safe, be well, be happy. Bye bye.